Hey, good morning, everybody. Early afternoon, whatever you would like to call it, but it is finally Thursday, which means we have one more day in this week. This week feels like we have slammed 3 weeks into one, but it's been crazy productive. We're going to talk about something kind of fun. It might not look fun if you're looking at your screen, but this is probably one of the better ways to grow an agency. And in order to grow, at some point, you're just going to be tapped out, and you need to figure out really what you hate doing and hire people to do what you don't want to do. It's going to make you insanely more productive, and you will find that it is money well spent. So, Brandon and I are going to jump right in to today's episode of Hire What You Hate. At some point, this is exactly what you're going to feel like. You're just doing too much. It is too much. There is not enough time in your day to fit everything in. You might need new agents and you might be trying to recruit those. You may need to get out new marketing pieces for an event that you're doing. You didn't cross sell to any of your appointments last week and you need to make, some follow-up phone calls to do some cross selling. You got to get out in your local area and do some networking. Plus, you have to go to your sales appointments, and now you have clients who have claims issues. That's a crazy full day. That is a lot on your plate. And once you get to a point where you have a really nice size book of business, this becomes unmanageable. And you have to figure out what of your day-to-day tasks just drain you. They're tasks that you hate. They're tasks that you would rather start the doom scrolling on your phone before you do them. They're just things that they don't bring you joy. And they are needed items for your business. And that's where you hire what you hate. Is there a better way
Courtney,
that you would put it, Brandon?
no, not at all. The thing that hit me as we were going over this slide, this is just work, right? This isn't talking about personal life. So all of the stuff that's taking away from your personal life as well, because you're having to do all this. And we've seen it time and time again. Agents, as they continue to grow, we're going to talk about this in just a second, but they 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 try to do it all and they try to do it well, and then they sacrifice on other sides of their life where the time at home maybe gets sacrificed, or they're constantly out and they miss ball games, or they miss events of their children, or they choose not to miss those things, and then some of their work stuff gets cut, so maybe they can't get out and network as much as they want, and they don't grow as fast as they need. Maybe they don't have time to do the marketing materials. And so you really do, and I think this is us as a whole, as a society, is I think we all do too much. We constantly try to fill our void with things because we have to do it, we have to do it, which moves us into our next piece here is just I'll just do it myself, right? And these are some of the myths I think that we all tell ourselves, agents especially. I know when I was in the field, this is something that I had to get out of my head about is, well, it's just faster if I just do it. It's I nobody can do it like I do, right? I even do that here at NCC. I have I have to get out of my head on that one because it, it causes a bottleneck, if you will. The other one that we talk about, Courtney, is that it'll save me money if I just do
Yeah,
it myself. And that I think is the biggest one that we'll spend some time on here, because as we were talking prior to launching this off, we think it saves money, but it's possible that we could earn more if we farm things out.
absolutely. I was talking with one of our agency owners the other day, and I'm like, you have got to figure out what you want to do versus what you're actually doing and hire somebody to do what you're always irritated about. And the first thing he said to me was, "You're talking to Mr. Cheap." And I'm like, wow, okay, well that, that brings it into a whole new light, right? People really do think that hiring somebody is only going to cost you money. In reality, it's probably one of the only ways that you're going to be able to continue to grow. Otherwise, you just get maxed out. You're not spending your time on the right things like sales, and you can't grow. You're really just in a retention only mode. And if you're somebody who's getting ready to position yourself to retire, that's wonderful. You'll probably get a great purchase price on your book of business. However, if you're somebody who wants to grow and wants to make more money, you have to figure out what you want to hire. And spending a little bit of money to hire, maybe it's an administrative assistant. It's probably going to run you somewhere around probably 20 bucks an hour, to be honest. But that $20 an hour, if you can go sell three Medicare Advantage plans, you've more than made up for that throughout the entire week. If you end up being able to sell five or more Medicare Advantage plans because you are now paying somebody $20 an hour, you've more than made up your money, not just initially, but the residuals from those sales will make up your money on a consistent basis. And guess what you're not doing? You're not tracking down your commissions. You're not having to make sure you answer every single phone call that comes to you. You have somebody who is able to do that, and they can do a lot more for you for that $20 an hour than you will ever have saved in just doing it yourself.
I think
Brandon,
they call that opportunity cost,
that's a good way
right?
to put it.
Is 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 by not taking that step, what is the cost that I'm losing? What business could I have written if I wasn't having to do X, Y, Z? And we're going to get into some scenarios here in just a few seconds, or a few slides that dive deep into that. But that think about that. And when you're just starting out, especially as a 1099 agent, spending money is difficult because you want to protect, let's say you have a nest egg, you want to protect that. And we're not saying go out and spend every bit of your money right at the beginning. But if you know you're not good at something, or you've been in this for a little while and you're at a point where you feel like things are falling through the cracks, maybe you're missing phone calls, or you know you can't get to everybody. Maybe it is time to have a conversation with us here at NCC to talk about, is this something that you can do? We can sit down and talk through some of those scenarios and numbers and that type of thing to help you understand when is a good time to bite the bullet. And let's start with an administrative assistant. Again, if they're able to take things off your plate so that you can be closing more, those types of things are going to be much more advantageous. And you'll actually, I think, down the road end up making more money than if you had tried to just, do it all yourself.
I would agree with that. In the whole, it's faster if I just do it. It might be in that instance faster if you just do it. But if you take 15 minutes to explain a 5-minute task to somebody that you just hired and you no longer have to do that task at all, just through the course of a normal business week, you've saved 10 minutes, even after taking that 15-minute explanation into consideration. So you got to look at the big picture when it comes to hiring. Um, it might cost some upfront. It might take a little bit more effort upfront. But in the long run, your return on investment is far greater than you can ever imagine. And I think you'll see that in the next couple slides, like this one. Um, what you avoid doesn't grow. That is so true.
Hmm.
And here's the funny part. Most agents avoid commissions. That's scary. That's a
Hmm.
conversation that we have on a consistent basis with agents and agency owners. And the first thing they'll say is, well, to be honest, I don't have time to look at those statements. Wow. That's your income. I look at my pay stub every single chance, every time it comes out, every single time. And it's not that I don't trust NCC, it's that I want to know where my money's coming from. I want to make sure it's right. It's in the same for you guys. You are 1099 employed salespeople. If you don't know where your money's coming from, if you don't know what sales you got paid on, you could be missing a ton of money. When you get to the point that you have 100, 200, 300 clients on the books, it is really easy to miss a renewal payment and not realize it if you're not checking those statements. You can't grow if you are constantly losing money to carrier oversights. If you dislike something, you tend not to do it. If you don't do it, then you might not get paid on it. If you're not getting paid on it, your income is going to become stagnant. This is where you really have to take a second and think, what does this value provide to me? What am I going to get? If I have somebody who's able to check my commission statements on a normal basis, what value do I get? Well, first value, you don't have to do it. Second value is I guarantee you they find you missing money. It might not be in the first month, it might be 6, 7 months down the road, but commission statements are one of the biggest inaccuracies for a 1099 salesperson in any industry. If you don't check it, you're going to miss out on money.
When my kids were little, we called things throughout they were in some therapies, and there was a term called non-preferred activity. When they didn't want to do something or they're having trouble doing it, they would avoid it, right? So it's a non-preferred activity. I My brain doesn't wrap around sitting and trying to look through spreadsheets and that type of thing. And so I know that I would not be good at that. So when I was selling, I had somebody, I paid somebody, you know, $15 an hour just about to look through some of this to help me find that money because I did not do it and I would put it off. And I had a mentor, very similar to what Courtney was saying, tell me if you're not checking these things, people may move policies and then your renewals fall off the books and you don't know that and then your income can drop tremendously. The other thing to think about here is other tasks that you don't like doing. Nobody can really network for you. You do have to do that. But if you don't like, let's say you don't like creating marketing materials or you think you're not good at it. Well, if you're not good, we're all human. If we think we're not good at something, we're not going to do it or we're not going to put it out there. And so if you're not marketing yourself, you can't grow your brand, you can't grow your market share. You will just stay stagnant. And obviously, word of mouth is great, but if you don't have materials out there and if you can't create them, that's another opportunity to see, is there a way that I can go out and I can find someone to do that for me? Here at National Contracting Center, we do have a marketing team. We can get you started with ideas. We can help you get you started with some basic uh, flyers, business cards, that type of design work. But once you get out in the community and you need bigger things, there are ways to get out and about and find someone that can do marketing for you because that ultimately is going to help drive your name, your brand out there. And that last bullet point we have on the screen, momentum drives income. That's crucial in just about everything that you're doing in your business. As long as you've got momentum and that momentum is moving forward, then it just builds and builds and builds. If you ever start going in reverse, the same thing happens. It can snowball backwards. So you want to keep driving forward because that income is going to then push you into another direction that you can begin outsourcing more and more things to where you can focus on exactly what it is that you do enjoy.
And I think you'll find that in the vast majority of salespeople, right? We are innately people. We are not spreadsheet people. We are not somebody who really wants to sit at a desk on a consistent basis unless that phone is ringing on a consistent basis. So what drives us is that person to person selling ability. That's why we're in the market that we're in. So things like, and Brandon was enlightening me on this before we even jumped on the call. Things like Upwork.com, Freelancer.com, Fiverr.com. Those are some freelance websites that you can jump on. You can find anything from data entry through marketing, even website design. And these are people that you're paying by the task. So if you don't necessarily want to hire somebody on full time, freelance is probably the option that you should look at. Because this is what you should be doing right here on this screen. Closers should close. Why book your own appointments? Go sell the appointments that are booked for you. It's not that you don't want to follow up with your clients, and you may very well be the one tapped on the shoulder to follow up with them and resolve their issue, but have somebody else take those phone calls for you. Hire leverage, hire what is going to increase your overall productivity 10 times. It will be worth the money, even if you're only looking at some freelance work from time to time. If it takes something off of your plate and gives you time back to your day, I promise the value is going to be there. Even if it just gives you an opportunity to sit and breathe so that you can be better prepared for your next appointment in 30 minutes, hire that person. Freelance that job out. Find somebody who's better at it than you are because overall, just increasing your mood during the day is going to be worth it. Um, there was a point in time where, I would take the family out to eat and I would sit there on a laptop and work through dinner. It made everybody's mood that much lower. It made my mood that much lower. I was getting bitter at what I was doing because I was too hesitant to delegate responsibilities to other people. You really have to take a step back and look at what you can handle versus what you're doing. And I promise you, those hires, even if it's just freelance opportunities, are going to make a big, big difference um, in your overall life and your income. It will increase your income. Brandon?
Well, the good thing about that too is like those websites you were talking about, when you hire by the task, if it's something, let's say marketing, right? And you need, or let's say logo design, rather than going to a marketing firm and paying by the hour, sometimes it's $100 an hour, $150 an hour, whatever, you can pay 20, 30, $40 for the task. And then if you don't like it, well, there's other people out there and you're not out a ton of money, right? That's the other thing I think sometimes we get caught up in is we know we need all these things, but where we go to find them based on the price of what it is, we're like, God, I can't come off $500 for a logo. Well, you don't have to. You can do this in a freelance state. Even a appointment setter, you can freelance that And you can, if they're not working out for you, if they're not setting enough, you move on. Like it's not you're doing it by the task. So if you let's say appointment setting, you hired someone off of Upwork and you gave them a list of 50 people to call and they got through it and they set you some appointments. Okay, well, let's do that again. Let me get you another list. That'd be another, say, $20. But if they didn't do a good job, you're not, you didn't hire quote unquote an employee. You just hired a freelancer to get that done. And that's something that we'll talk about, I think, in a few slides is the difference between freelancing and employees. When do I need an actual employee? But as you're just starting, freelancing these opportunities is going to help you tremendously get up and going to the point where you can hire an employee. Because this slide here, I think, is what we've really been driving home in amongst all of this. When we say confusion is expensive, sometimes when we're confused about something or we don't understand it, we avoid it, and that costs us money. So when we avoid marketing because we don't know how to do it or we don't like what was done or we just don't get it. I talked about this a minute ago. Our visibility is limited. With a limited visibility, we can't grow our pipeline. And that pipeline, just like momentum, drives our income. And a pipeline will only grow if you're consistent in doing it. So, we recommend, having uh, with obviously a good website, right? And there are, Courtney and I were talking about this prior to the session. There are website designs out there where you can do it yourself, right? You can pay $9.95 a month and you can build your own website. If you're not a website builder, it might look okay to you, but to your potential audience, it might look less than. And you want something that is professional. So when we're talking about, let's say, Fiverr, you can go out to Fiverr and you can find someone that has designed hundreds, if not thousands, of websites and get them to design you a basic one for $50, $100, maybe 200, depending on what level you want. A lot of the freelancers out there, they have packages. They have a basic package, they have a Cadillac package. You can choose. So having a really professional designed website that you can have that URL put on a business card, create a QR code potentially that when someone scans it, it takes them directly to your website that shows who you are, what you offer, maybe even set up a Calendly account where they can book an appointment with you right off your website. All that can be done with a freelancer. Now, there are companies out there that you can pay a lot of money to do a really, really good job, integrate all of the stuff and, run it for you and all that. But if you're just starting out, that's we've seen agents go do that and then regret it later because they can't keep it up, because they can't keep funding that money, right? So as you're freelancing, you can get, I know we keep saying that word, but that really is something I don't know that a lot of our agents think about, Courtney, is utilizing someone that can help do the things that you don't want to do or are not good at. Even
Right.
if I think I'm good at a lot of stuff, but there are people that are better than me that if I just gave them $20, that it would look a whole lot better than what I could do.
100%. And I love to just randomly call people out on these calls. But I noticed that our recruiting manager, Miss Lisa Callahan, joined us today. And she was actually given some feedback regarding agency websites. We're doing a lot of sourcing for new agent and agency partners to join NCC. And she has noticed some things on websites that I really think speaks to exactly what Brandon and I are discussing. And if they would have gone outside of probably GoDaddy, maybe Wix, and hired somebody to do this for them, even on a very budget-friendly freelance basis, I think these issues would be cleared up. And I'm going to ask Lisa to talk about some of those issues because I think it's worth you guys looking at your websites if you have them, or making note of this moving forward so it doesn't happen to you. So, Lisa, thanks for joining us and kind of being my next victim on who can talk next.
Yeah, like Courtney mentioned, I have been prospecting agencies so we can reach out to more folks and show them how we can help them out here at NCC. And I cannot tell you how many agent and agency websites I've come across that unintentionally damage their own credibility. Social media icons linking to inactive profiles, or worse, they go nowhere. There's no recent content, there's no visible email address, just kind of a generic contact us for more information form. Sometimes not even the agent's full name or name is listed on the website. It's just a very vague call me. Okay, well, I'll call you, but who am I supposed to ask for? Um, these details might seem small, but they do send a really big message. And when someone lands on your website, they're looking for reassurance. They want to know you're real, you're accessible, you're a professional. So, broken links, missing contact information, or unclear ownership creates kind of some doubt there. And so, instead of having your website build trust about you, the site kind of creates some hesitation. And if people have to work to figure out who you are, how to reach you, they may simply not even try. They're going to move on to someone else who they feel is being more transparent and a little easier to contact. So your website should remove barriers, not create them. And so a lot of this information that Courtney and Brandon are sharing here today would certainly help you do just that.
Thanks. Definitely
You're welcome.
appreciate that. I think there are some very good points. And I think Brandon would agree there's some easy improvements that can be made for fairly low costs. And you all might be amazed at how many of your friends do these things. Just by talking to them. I know in my personal friend group that there are a couple people who really like website design. I also know I'm horrible at it. So if I ever had to go out on my own and start my own business, the first thing I would do is poke them on the shoulders and ask them to help me. So there might be more free help, more free hires, if you will, um, than you know. You just have to get out there and do what you're good at, sales and networking. Medicare only thinking limits growth. This is huge. This is something that even from a lead pipeline scenario can really make or break you. We have at NCC, we have an ACA specialist, Danielle Byers. She is amazing. She knows everything ACA, and she takes a huge weight off of, I mean, I'm going to be selfish here, my shoulders in knowing the ACA portion of health insurance, so I don't have to. If we didn't have her, we wouldn't be able to help you guys with ACA. But if we didn't have her, we would really suck at ACA. And we don't because of her. But at first, we were Medicare only. So we got to be very specialized in Medicare. Um, we don't sell everything. So that first line is very accurate. You do not have to sell everything, but you should know the people who do. And this is where downlines come in, and where NCC can help you. We can't pay for your downlines. We can't do any of that, but we can help you find downlines. We can help you find somebody who really has a great ACA background, but maybe they came from an agency that's no longer in the business or who they just didn't really jive with, and they're looking for new employment. That's probably the person that you should hire. And you can do that at minimal additional effort. So you can place a downline in your hierarchy and you can choose how to pay them. And if you don't want to do the accounting, in many situations, the carrier can pay your downline and you can receive a small override for their business. So the carrier takes care of the accounting for you. That allows that downline to own their book of business. And I need to be very specific about that because as an agency owner, you would not own that business. The downline would. But you're also not really out any money because if they're not selling, they're not getting paid, which means you're not paying them to not sell. So this is a very viable option that limits any financial downside while they're coming up to speed in sales. But this also, as you guys know, because you all have been there, takes a person who has the ability to potentially go without money for a month or two before they start making commissions. So you have to be ready for that. You have to prepare that person for that. But let's say you're just not very good at positioning hospital indemnity or cancer plans. You can hire somebody to just sell and cross sell your book of business. So you're providing all these leads to a person who can just sit there and call, make those outbound phone calls to your existing client group and see if they can be helped with a hospital indemnity or a cancer plan. They're also doing follow-up phone calls to your clients, which means your agency name is staying in front of those clients, and they're doing some maintenance to your existing book of business and making that business even more sticky so that those clients don't go elsewhere. Just some really interesting things to think about. That's not going to cost you a whole bunch of money up front. In this particular example, no money up front, and you can still get additional business and additional income without a whole lot of thought.
This is something that we've talked about throughout the course of this session so far, but really when you break it down, and this is a conversation I would invite you if you're curious, if you're new and you don't really know what your average dollar amount per app is, or if you haven't been tracking your commissions and you don't really know what you're making, reach out to us here at National Contracting Center. We'd love to have this conversation with you because this is an eye-opening exercise when you really break it down. And when Courtney was sent over her notes yesterday, this was the biggest thing that stood out is when you really break down what your time is worth as the agent, right? So what is your average dollar amount per app and how many are you writing per week? And then when you do that math, that's your production value. That's what you're worth during that week. A lot of times that number is very, very high. So then why are you stressing and worrying yourself to death about a $20 an hour task? Courtney mentioned earlier, administrative assistant, $20 an hour to take stuff off of you so that you can up your policies written in a week. Maybe you go from, say you were writing 5 a week, you go to 7 a week. Your production value just went up, your income just went up. You're paying $20 an hour, but at the end of the day, you're coming out in the net positive because you're growing every day that you're not wasting time doing what you can farm out to someone. So really taking and Courtney, I think you've had this conversation with agents before that have been in this business for quite some time that never really sat down and did the math as far as what is my value?
Yeah.
And when they realize that, holy crap, even at let's say $25 an hour or a $200 website, if I just paid for that, what is my how does that impact my production value? And if that goes up, everything else kind of takes care of itself.
100%. And we're going to math the example that you just gave because oddly, it's the exact example I was mathing before you even spoke it. So if you're doing 5 apps a week, and I'm rounding just because, math. If five Medicare apps a week, we're going to say that they're new to Medicare. So 5 times 700, $3,500 a week divided by 40. That's $87.5 an hour. You hire somebody at $20 an hour and you get 2 additional sales a week because they gave you that money, that time back to make the additional money. So now you're making 7 new to Medicare sales a week. That's $4,900 a week. Divide that by 40. That's $122.50 an hour. Even if you less the $20 an hour that your hire is taking, you're still making over $100 an hour when before you were only making $87 an hour. The maths, and it maths in your favor just by getting extra time back to your day. And I'm telling you, if you get rid of the tasks that you don't like, you're going to make more money and you're going to innately be happier. Having to do something that you don't want to do, you just keep putting off. At one point, uh, probably one of my earlier life moments where I realized I just didn't like something. I hate doing laundry. I just despise it. And I really despise doing laundry when there's a lot of it. And at one point in my life, there was so much laundry. I was like, I just don't want to do this. Like it was horrible. But now I've realized that if you just do a little bit of laundry throughout the entire week, it's just not that bad. Now, clearly, I'm still doing it myself because I'm not going to pay somebody to do my laundry. It seems kind of, I don't know. I just can't do that. This is just not
Not at
something.
that level yet.
Yeah, not there, not there. Um, but you have to make that realization. If you just don't have any more time in your day, you can't do little things throughout the day. Those little things might be stuff that you really, really enjoy. Hire somebody to do those, to do the big tasks that are just looming over your head if you have the ability to do that.
Even things that you, I think you just said this, that you enjoy doing, but that are taking up your time. If you can free up time, then that is the one resource that we can't get back. And I get emails from agents. I don't check them until business hours, but I'll get them all hours of the night. And I'm thinking, why in the world are you awake at 1 o'clock in the morning? Probably because they worked all day, they stopped, they had some family time, and then once the kids went to bed, or the wife went to bed, or the husband went to bed, um, now they're jumping back into their business and they're trying to catch up on things. But if you had someone, and because I'm in the marketing department, a lot of the emails that I get are requesting or asking questions about flyers or design or logo or um, recording YouTube videos, that type of thing. If you didn't have to do that at 1 o'clock in the morning and you could actually get a full night's sleep, because that's the biggest thing, especially later in the year when we get into AEP, sleep is hard to find. But if you could piece some of this out and you have peace of mind and you get some sleep and you're not as cranky to your family or to your colleagues, how much better would that be when you're sitting across the table or on a Zoom call with a beneficiary and be able to sell them, and your brain is not cluttered and you remember, oh, hey, I'm writing a Medicare Advantage plan. I need to bring up hospital indemnity. So all of that to say, know your worth, know your production value, hire out what you are not good at or what's taking up your time so that you can be a better agent for yourself and then move your business forward.
And Miss Tanya, if you can hire that person to do your laundry, I completely understand that. Let me know how that feels. I don't know how I'd feel about that. I'm just not ready for it. Um, and this is really here just to kind of reaffirm like what we have already said. Where are you at? Where are you at in the bottleneck of your overall day? And what can you and should you get rid of? And then from the should you get rid of, what are you comfortable getting rid of? Maybe you don't want people to see your commission statement. Maybe that's one of those voids that you're just not ready for, like me in the laundry. Then don't hire that person, but get some things off your plate. Hire that freelance guy to double check your website and make sure that there aren't any communication voids on your website, like Lisa noticed earlier today before this call. Do something to gain some time back in your day so that you can really truly focus on what you are good at in growing your business. If you take anything away from this call, um, do that. Just spend something on a freelance guy to do something that you hate and see how that works out for you. At least it's a budget friendly technique. If you could hire somebody to speak for you every once in a while, you wouldn't get so tongue-tied, which is what just happened to me. But some really great ideas out there, some very budget friendly tips. And one of those is talk to your immediate friend and family group. You might find that somebody is really, really good at something that you can't stand. That somebody might be a high school or college student because our 13-year-old can definitely design in art a million times around me. That's not what I'm good at. I'm good at words. And I know that if I gave him some words, he could probably design something really super cool like Brandon does for me on a daily basis. Um, you just got to know what you're good at and where you really want to spend your time.
I'll second that as far as a teenager or a young person, uh, especially someone that may have a what do they call it, a unique set of skills, right? I have a son that he doesn't meet a stranger, and the boy will talk to anyone, literally anyone. As an introvert and as an introverted parent, he was my nightmare on parent nights at school because what should be a 30-minute meeting turned into an hour and a half because he knew everybody and he would talk to everybody. And if he saw a friend and he didn't know their parents, he would introduce himself to the parents. And told him at a young age, I said, you're either going to be a lawyer or a politician because that's just not normal. Well, his mother is a state farm agent. She now uses him to make calls for her because he does not care to talk to anybody. Doesn't matter the topic. So she gives him a list. She gives him talking points. Here's the phone numbers. Go do it. Pays him, I don't know, I think $12 an hour or something like that, 10, 12, something like that. You may have someone in your family that's like that, a young person that would be able to do that, a young person that knows social media. The one thing I will say about that is just because someone knows social media doesn't mean they're good at social media. So be careful uh, with the social media people. You want to make sure that they're compliant. You want to make sure that they are instructed on what they can and can't do. Also, if there's a generational gap between you and the person doing your social media, make sure that you're up to date on all of the lingo and everything that's out there because your brand is being presented. So you want to make sure that it's what you want done. You know, also we've talked about freelancing and a lot during this session, but also you don't have to do all of this alone. Everything you see on the screen is stuff that we here at National Contracting Center can help you. You have a dedicated sales development manager that will talk with you about planning, strategic planning. They can help you with cross-selling. We have multiple webinars a month with some of our carrier partners where they talk about their products and how to position them. So make sure that you're checking our event calendar to sign up for those. Miss Lisa's on the call with a recruiting structure. We can talk to you about things that you can do for recruiting. If you have a marketing that you need, we can help you direct you there. I guess the whole point of this screen, and Courtney, I think the whole point of this whole session, this town hall, is you don't have to do this alone. We are here and we can help you to a point. There's a point where we have to point you to a freelancer or to a designer or a website person, but you don't have to go do all of that searching. We have the knowledge inside NCC that we can help point you in the direction if we can't do it for you.
100%. Um, you'll be impressed at the ideas that come out of any member of our staff on any given day. Sometimes it just takes a conversation, and your willingness to be open and honest with what you need and where you excel and the stuff that you just really either don't want to do or don't have that particular skill set. I mean, legitimately, if you asked me to draw something, I would look at you and be like, stick figure or house. That's all I got. Those are the only things that I can do. And I'm very self-aware of that, but I know who to tap on the shoulder when something needs designed. And that in itself is a great life skill to have. Um, if you do have younger tiny humans at your house, thank you notes is a great thing that they can do. Our 9-year-old on all of my recruiting events packs the bags. That's what she does. She likes to pack our goodie bags, and unfortunately, she makes money doing that because I am willing to pay to not have to do that. So just think of those things, if your kids or maybe you have a cousin, niece, or nephew is looking for some extra money because they want to go do something, find something that they can do for you and take that off your plate. If you're not sure what you should hire, call us. Let us help you. Let us have a conversation. We might ask you, 5 questions. We might ask you 50 questions if you want some recruiting done for you, but we definitely can help. If nothing else, by pointing you in the right direction and really by reaffirming the fact that you're not out there alone. We are a very supportive FMO. We know that we grow when you grow, so we want to make sure that we're putting in our time and effort to people who are very growth minded and who we think that we can really help and help you guys affect change and affect your income in a very positive direction.
Now, if you are brand new and maybe this is your first call, you've joined us, or you're watching us on our YouTube channel and you're a brand new agent, this may have overwhelmed you a lot because we talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about commissions, we talked about websites, we talked about marketing, we talked about downlines. You may have not even sold your first policy yet. If that's the case, that's fine. Again, we're here to help. And the thing we want you to take away from this is build smart from the very start. So you're just starting out, you're a solo agent, but you may have aspirations of having an agency down the road. As you scale, we've seen the right way to do things. We've seen the wrong way to do things, and we will help point you in that right direction. Courtney has helped a ton of agents move into agencies and help structure downlines and help set up those processes. So lean on us as you do that. The one thing that I took away from this screen is something that spoke to me personally is that middle bullet. Don't normalize the burnout. We see agents all the time do that's just the way it is, right? The agents will tell me all the time, Brandon, that's just the way it is. I just have to do it. I just have to stay up to 2 o'clock in the morning to get it done. I just have to miss this. I just have to do more of this. That's not normal. And there's a reason, and let's just be honest, there's a reason that there's a lot of burnout and turnover in Medicare agents because they normalize that burnout and then they just quit. And we want to see you succeed and get to that point where you are an agency owner and you've built it the right way. You farmed things out, and hey, you join us on our front runners trip. We want you to be in a front runners trip with us where you're kick back, relax a little bit, or We have agents that, you know what, they take 2, 3 vacations a year. I'm not saying that to brag, but they've gotten to a point where they feel comfortable with the people they've hired, their agencies that they've built, that they can take a step back and enjoy what they've built without being stressed, without yelling at their kids, without, you being frustrated all day, without going to dinner and taking their laptop, right? There's a peace there. So ask for structure. Just reach out to us. We will help you as you build every portion of the way as you're starting out, brand new agent. Maybe you've got 3, 4, 500 clients under your belt, and you finally decide I need to talk about maybe getting a administrative assistant. What does that look like? Well, who do I need to look at? Where do I go to find these people? We can help you with that.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here for. If you're just getting started, if you're 10 years and it doesn't matter, we can definitely help you set up for what success looks like for you because it is different for everybody. Maybe you want to have an agency of, 20, 30 downline agents. That's cool. We can help you set that structure and get that set up so that it is successful and it's not a big drain on you financially. But maybe you're also an agent who really wants to be the lone wolf and you only want somebody to be an administrative assistant. That's cool. We can tell you how to figure that out and what you can best use that administrative assistant for. Maybe you just want to sell enough to get a really good purchase price on a book of business, or you're at the point of retirement and that's what you want to do. You just want to sell that book of business. We can help you get set up for that as well. Wherever you're at in your agent lifespan, give us a call. We'd be happy to partner with you in every single way that we can to make success possible for you. You just have to reach out and let us know what we can do. Here's a task, and we don't give homework, but if you've spent enough time with us today that you've got this far, do us one favor. Track your time. Identify one thing that you hate doing and make a plan to remove it. Then give us a call and let us know how that felt. And let's go from there. I hope you all have a fantastic day. We really appreciate you joining us on all of our webinars. We appreciate you watching on our YouTube channel as well. This was our Hire What You Hate, Protect What You're Great At, and know that NCC is here to help you in any way that we can. We hope you have a fantastic Thursday, and we look forward to talking with you soon.